What is up, guys? It is another edition of Riding Home. Today, Dylan Weber and Matt DeBary. Matt, how are we?
Doing good as always, man.
Are we always good? Is that the truth?
I guess it was a solid day for me. Not a terrible Monday. Got my little workout in the morning.
Well, yeah,
Working on a story about Carson Beck that I've got coming out tomorrow. So pretty good day so far.
I feel like we should address this just before we get to anything, just so everyone knows. Matt DeBary has been getting up at, is it 5 or 5:30?
4:45.
Holy
4:45.
My bad.
And we're
4:45 to run every morning.
not every morning, like 2 or 3 times
Still,
a
man,
week. Just so,
shit.
yeah.
I'll give you that
I'm almost
credit.
30, man. I don't have many years in these knees, I guess is what everyone says when they're my age. So I got to be as active as I can. But trying to lose a couple lbs so I can keep drinking a little bit and it not look too bad.
Yeah, so yeah, keep the calories burned to the amount
Exactly.
consumed alcohol wise. All right,
Exactly.
let's move on. Practice today.
What'd you see?
We got about 7 minutes, I think, which is good relative. I mean, last week it was zero practice availability, so made it kind of tough to talk about who was injured, who was not. But there really wasn't much today, and that's kind of a good thing. It seems like Georgia is reaching almost its peak health that it's been at, since maybe the beginning of the season, fall camp. Because I mean, after that Vanderbilt game, they had the Kearis Jackson injury that lingered for a while. But I mean, today I think the only person I noticed injured was Justin Schaefer.
Yeah.
And like that one, doesn't really matter. He's maybe an eighth or ninth string lineman. When you just total all of them together.
Yeah, he's not an impact guy, and we've seen what these guys who have been healthy, how much they can impact the team. We saw it against Florida with Lawrence Cager. Jordan Davis was a monster. I went back and watched a lot of the first half today and just taking notes, and he was so disruptive. Georgia needs him to be as healthy as possible going into this late stretch and into postseason play. That we didn't see a ton of Tyson Campbell against Florida, if I'm not mistaken, but he'll continue to get healthier. But getting guys like Cager and Jordan Davis back, and Trayvon Walker played a lot, was really big. So I think you're right. This is the time of the year where a lot of teams are banged up, and it seems like Georgia is relatively healthier than a lot of these teams out there.
Well, and on Tyson, he did not play. I don't think he was included in
Okay.
the participation report. But Kirby
Right.
did talk about that a little bit today, and he said that he probably could have gone if they really needed to, but the opportunity just didn't come up. They didn't see a time when they really needed to. But I think the only case we probably would have seen Tyson is if a guy like DJ Daniel got hurt, or Eric Stokes got hurt. But thankfully those guys were able to stay on the field, and so they didn't really need Tyson. And
Well, that's a good thing if you're Georgia too, because I thought Florida's receiving core was the best that Georgia has seen all year, and like we talked about on Riding Home and what we've all written about, the secondary played really, really well, and that's without a guy like Tyson Campbell, former 5-star, who a lot of people think can play in the NFL, who started a lot of games last year as a freshman. So, when he gets healthy and, finds his way back in the starting rotation, this defense is going to be even better and more experienced, especially on the back end. But DJ Daniel is playing really well right now. Eric Stokes played really well. And then obviously LeCounte, he's not perfect, but I thought he had a really good game against Florida. And then you've got the team leader there, J.R. Reed, who's not going to make a lot of mistakes. So that secondary's played really, really well, and that's without a big player, impact guy like Tyson Campbell.
well, and it's good just for depth reasons, because you don't want to go into a possible SEC championship game with your third string corner and DJ Daniel not getting much time. So this is a great opportunity for him to come in and actually get a lot of playing time and learn what it's like to play in the SEC when a guy like Tyson Campbell has that experience, but gets to sit back, rest, and let DJ Daniel get that experience.
Yeah, and again, the number of guys they play in the secondary is a lot too. A lot of the time they have 5 DBs out there, especially with that star position. You got Mark Webb and Devon Wilson, guys playing a lot there. But no, it's a very improved group, especially from last year. It's not like it was a weakness or anything, but I think that group has played really well, and they definitely did on Saturday.
Well, and moving on to Trayvon Walker, he was a guy. I mean, this guy had surgery on his wrist, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. But I mean, he came back and played, as if nothing had ever happened. It seemed like, it's not like he plays a lot, but he plays a decent bit, a noticeable bit, I would say.
Yeah,
And,
he's not going to light up the stat sheet, but he does make an impact. You're right.
yeah, and so that was an interesting thing just to see him come back and as if nothing had ever happened. I mean, of course, he had I think a brace of some kind on that wrist, but still, I mean, it really does seem like Georgia is hitting the healthiest it's been since I would say fall camp before that Vanderbilt game.
Yeah, he's a beast, and there's a reason he was a 5-star guy. But yeah, I mean, the defense is only going to get better. I think it's nationally ranked. We talked about it at Whataburger. They still haven't allowed a rushing touchdown this season, which is remarkable. I'm not expecting them to give up one against Missouri. Auburn and Texas A&M have a decent rushing attack. We'll see, but this defensive line in particular is really healthy, and they're doing a great job as well, especially. I mean, Jordan Davis and Devante Wyatt in the middle have done such a good job, and then you've got Ojulari, who's really coming on as a pass rusher, and guys like Jermaine Johnson, Nolan Smith, they play. Again, they're not lighting up the stat sheet either because so many guys are playing, and that just shows you how much talent they do have on this defense.
But along that defensive line, or I guess the edge rushers specifically, I mean, not having guys light up the stat sheet is not a big deal because it just shows the amount of rotation they have. The depth, once again, because you want to keep those guys fresh. Because the offensive linemen are going to stay the same, and they're going to get tired. But if you're able to rotate those edge rushers in, I mean, it just keeps constant pressure on them of just revitalized energy late in the game.
And that's what Kirby wants. That's what he's telling these kids in the living room. Hey, when he's recruiting all these 5-stars on defense, you can rack up a ton of them over and over because you're playing a lot of them. A lot of these freshmen have been playing. And in order to get those guys to come in and sign, you have to tell them, hey, we have the ability to play you. We play so many guys, and if you sign here, there's a really good opportunity you'll play as a freshman, and that's what a lot of these 2019 guys are doing. That's a lot of the 2018 class got to see that too. So, that's what Kirby preaches to these kids. That's a big reason why he's getting a lot of these 5-stars, and he's proven them right. He's playing a ton of guys, no matter how young they are.
Yeah. Back to the rushing touchdown situation. I mean, I think we can both agree I wouldn't expect it against Missouri. I guess things could happen, but I would not foresee Missouri being the team.
Right, unless they maybe get some type of penalty that gets them within a yard or two and find a way to punch his one in. They're not giving up anything long on the run. It's not like they're going to give up a big long rushing touchdown. So if they find their way to the 1-yard line, maybe they're able to punch one in. But again, I'm not expecting it. If I'm in Vegas, my money's on them not giving up a rushing touchdown to Missouri.
But what about Auburn?
Auburn can rush the ball. They got DJ Williams, who's playing really well as a true freshman. Georgia recruited him a little bit towards the end of the last recruiting cycle, got an official visit out of him, and was in that top group. He eventually signed with Auburn, and he's played a lot. We'll see. They do a good job of rushing the ball most years. But, again, it's at Auburn, too. I do think that's going to be a defensive slugfest. But, man, it would be something if Georgia went this entire regular season without giving up a rushing touchdown. I don't know when the last team in the country's done that. It's got to be a long, long time. But they're really impressive right now.
I mean, and to be fair, they do have to go 4 more games without doing it. And that is extremely tough. But I mean, so far, they've gone this far already.
A&M can run the ball. They had a kid break out last Saturday. I guess it was against UTEP or some weirdo school out there in Texas. But, they have the ability to run the football.
Kellen Mond can run the ball, too.
Right.
Some Bo Nix can, too, to a certain extent.
Yeah. But the fact that they've made it this far is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and it's just weird because Kirby still doesn't seem to give the defense that much credit.
At least when he's talking to the media.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
But I mean, like when he had the one day where he just kind of, shit all over them. And I don't know. I'm not a football coach by any means, and he definitely is. But I just don't see it. Like what's wrong with it?
No, they're doing a good job. But he's just not the type of coach who's going to. He doesn't praise really anyone but Jake Fromm, it seems. I mean, you're in the press conferences more than I am. But, he doesn't want to throw a lot of praise out there. But I think it's funny that a lot of people were, had a lot of criticism for Trey Scott But how much of this is, him? A lot of it has to be as the defensive line coach. But a lot of people were not necessarily hating on him, but definitely criticizing a little bit for what he's done on the recruiting trail. But these guys are really turning out and they're playing well, and I think Trey Scott deserves a good amount of credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Trey Scott smile for once in my life.
I've never seen it. Yeah,
neither have I.
For sure.
He just always looks kind of grumpy. And
well, last year they let us on the field on the pregame with the recruits and all that. So he was a dude he's really good. He had his family there. He had a lot of the prospects holding, his little toddler baby he had. So when he's interacting with the recruits, when they let the media actually look at that stuff last year pregame, you got to see him interact with a lot of the recruits and their families, and he brought over his young family. So I guess I have seen him smile and be kind of cool a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I hesitate to believe you, but I don't.
And I totally understand. His guys are making plays though, and I guess that's really all that matters.
Yeah, and once again, I think it's just part of that rotation of it. They have so many guys, and a guy like Devante Wyatt, who I don't think gets enough credit along this defensive front. He has stepped up and made a bunch of big plays this year.
Oh, yeah. He's done a really good job. So is Tyler Clark. But Devante Wyatt, he's just another athletic guy who can run. The same with Trayvon Walker. They're recruiting a lot of these just big athletes to play defensive line and coach them up from there. But no, Devante Wyatt's played really well, especially for a guy who went under the radar as far as his recruitment. It wasn't a big deal. Kind of flew under. A lot of people still don't know a ton about the kid, but he's made a big impact. And again, Tyler Clark is not going to go in the first 3 rounds of the draft or anything, but he is as consistent as it gets. He's made plays each and every year he's been at Georgia. It seems like he's a guy who's been around forever, and he's another guy who played really, really well against Florida. And a lot of it is because he's next to a guy like Jordan Davis a lot.
Yeah, and Tyler Clark is a guy I always forget about too, and I think everyone else probably does as well.
Well, I followed his recruitment for a while, and I saw him in the Georgia All-Star game, and it was him, Mecole Hardman, and Derek Brown. Those were the 3 best players in that All-Star game. And ever since then, I'm like, dude, this Tyler Clark kid can play. He's a low 4-star, but this kid dominated. He and Derek Brown, I knew right then. They took over the game. Mecole Hardman had a bunch of really good catches there, but now he's a guy who he's consistent. He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, but he's quick and he makes a lot of plays, and he did on Saturday. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I had to give Tyler Clark some credit there. Yeah, he's my boy.
The credit he deserves. Absolutely.
For sure.
We'll end on this. Matt, do you know how cold the game's going to be on Saturday?
I haven't checked. Haven't looked.
Well, it's a high of 54 in that day. In the day. And the game is at 7:30.
We need to find some intern to go and shoot. I guess I'll be outside.
Yeah,
anyway.
It doesn't matter.
But you got the heaters there. I don't know if the photographers have the heaters down there.
No. Do you think there are heaters on the field? By the benches, there are. Definitely not in the end zones.
No. They are in the press box. The Auburn game last year was cold, but I don't remember it being freezing. But
I asked a friend. I said, "Well, do you know what the weather was for Auburn last year?" And he said it was the low 50s. This game will likely be in the low 40s, maybe the high 30s.
Ooh. Yeah, so it was cold 2 years ago too. I remember that.
Against Auburn or when?
At Auburn.
At Auburn?
Yeah.
Oh, that game was freezing.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think if anyone listening to this doesn't really care. I'm just kind of venting at this point. But surely Auburn has heaters in the press box. It's not going to be fun because it is open. It's not behind glass like most stadiums are. But
yeah, well,
it's not going to be fun.
Oh, it won't be, but we'll get past it. Everyone, thank y'all for listening to this point. I know y'all care as much about the weather as we do, and we will see y'all tomorrow.
See ya.